Hey guys, hope you're doing amazing tonight. Thanks so much for joining me. Glad you could be here. I got Buttercup and Fern. Hello, Northern Girls Hobby. Thanks so much for showing up. Tracy, good to see you again. Thanks for joining. Hope everyone is doing amazing. And suddenly I've got my other YouTube stream going here, so I'm going to shut that off so we don't hear any background noise or get any echoes or any issues like that. So the one thing I wanted to talk about tonight was basically prepping your homestead. So prepping your farm, prepping your homestead, prepping, I'd say, your house. Some of the things won't apply to this as much because I think, well, if you're in an apartment or in a subdivision or in a house and that sort of thing, having some animals and stuff like that, having a river going through your property probably isn't going to happen. So I was kind of thinking about different stuff about prepping your homestead for different events. Everybody likes the what happens in, grid down, SHTF, EMP, civil unrest stuff. So we'll talk about that too. Not full blown, but we'll throw in some stuff for it. Heartland HQ. Hey, good to see you. Glad you could join us. So my thought process in the whole thing and going through some different stuff and stuff we continue to work towards on our homestead is basically getting it ready to be as self-reliant, as self-sufficient as possible. That includes, our own water supply, our own food supply, that kind of thing. So I was going through my brain about sort of different situations, or not different situations, different categories that you'll have to apply to your homestead. We're going to kind of stick to homestead because that's what I've kind of applied it to. If you have a farm or something bigger property as well, it kind of applies to that. But I thought of the 5 rules of survival, which are water, heat, fire, signaling, shelter, and food. I'm going to change that a little bit and add 2 others. So what I would say is in the homestead prepping for different events, so everything from, tornadoes to snowstorms to ice storms to floods, any sort of catastrophe where you would have to maybe stay on your homestead for weeks, months at a time, something like that. A good example was the ice storm 98 in Quebec, Ontario, Maine, where some people were without power for a month. So say you're in a small town and your grocery store or all the grocery stores within a good driving distance or the gas station, that sort of thing, is without power for a month. That's huge. And in that situation too, there was downed power lines, downed trees. So travel was hard as well, if I remember correctly. Someone who might remember it better could probably correct me. But there were lots of situations where, that's the kind of prepping that I kind of planned for, whether it be a forest fire out the back that we had, that sort of thing. So what I'd say is kind of apply the 5 rules of survival, but apply it to your homestead as well. So water would be a big one. Heat, so heat, fire, fuel. You're going to have to keep warm if it's the winter. Signals. If you're lost in a survival situation or, helicopter's gone down, plane's gone down, you're lost in the bush, signaling for help is one of the big ones. It's not going to be a big one if you're in bugging in situation on your homestead. However, what I'd change instead of signal is, say, communication. So communication with others on your homestead or farm. If you have people that have now come to stay with you, family or friends, uh, if you have loved ones that need to be looked after and they were in an apartment and you brought them out to your farm or homestead, if you go out in the back 40 to do something, having communication with the person in the house is ideal. So a good set of comms for that, and then comms with the outside world as well. Knowing what's going on, be able to talk to people for help, that sort of thing. Shelter. Obviously, shelter is huge in survival situations. When you're getting into a situation for you're prepping your homestead, shelter is ideal for yourself and your animals if you have animals. So I'd say kind of work to complete those projects if you have projects. Say you have tarps that are acting as a roof, or siding that's not done. Something where if a bad situation happened where you're having to stay in the house for a while, you kind of want something complete. Say, it's rained or you've got a flood to deal with out on the outside of the house. Having your roof leaking at the same time because you haven't finished the shingling is a huge issue. And then there's food. Food is a big one, obviously. What is it? Survival, 28 days, you're basically dead. So food is a big one. You can think about different stuff, food stored as well as food living. So again, if you're on a homestead, you've probably done some canning and you've got animals walking around in your field. Now, the two I would add to those 5 rules of survival would be power for your house. And then the other one would be security. Now, security, obviously, we're getting into that civil unrest situation, grids down, political discourse, EMP happens, something like that. You're going to have some sort of security for your homestead. So that was kind of my 7 rules of homestead prepping, if that makes sense. And I'd love to hear your guys' thought, if there'd be something else. I noticed Northern Girls Hobby said medicine, including natural meds. That would be a big one. I wonder if you could put that into category, if it would be a different category, whether it be wouldn't really be in food or water. So I guess it would be its own kind of category, but definitely meds for stuff that goes wrong. There's always stuff that goes wrong. In situations like that, getting to the hospital is going to be hard, if not impossible in some cases. If the hospital doesn't have power, it's going to be an even worse situation. So it is definitely something to think about as well. My bro took his whole neighborhood in during that ice storm. The only home with a fireplace. He's near Toronto. And that's the big thing. If we get into stuff a little deeper, say, for example, the heat, fire, fuel. So you want to have some way to heat your house or shelter or barn if it is in the winter months. So you're going to have to either have propane, you're going to have firewood or oil, something to be able to continue to heat your house and keep you guys warm. If you do have running water, say you're off grid, you have a pump going to your well, then obviously you don't want to allow your house to get down below freezing, because that would threaten your pipes as well. Some medical apps now on cell phones, like glucose monitor apps, keeping a cell phone charged. Yeah, exactly. I guess there would be kind of an 8th thing I'd apply to that. It would be those kind of preps would be, medical. I guess the cell phone chargers would go under power, because you'd want some sort of power for the house. I'd say electricity, gas, propane, oil, wood, something, as long as you can get power. because you're going to want to power your house, obviously, cooking, your tractor if you have one, if you have animals. So barn, if you have running water in your barn, that would be handy. Ham radio. Yeah, I've looked at getting a ham radio myself. That would be a big asset, especially when being able to talk to the outside world in one of those situations. Being able to find other people in the area that you don't have contact with, a cell number. Maybe they might have a ham radio. Maybe you'll be in contact with them that way. Yes, having feed for the animals is crucial. It's funny because I was driving home tonight and I was thinking about different stuff for the live tonight, and I'm like, that's one of the things I haven't thought about is enough feed for the chickens. There's times where we run out of a bag of feed and we have to go to the feed store to get chicken feed. So that's one big for us in the winter, especially because they won't forage as well as they do in the summer in the winter. So having backup feed is a necessity that I need to address, definitely. Having herbs are awesome. Bridget did a spiral garden at the back a few years ago, which it was basically herbs and medicinal plants. So we have everything from mint to echinacea. I'm trying to remember what else is in there. But there's sage, there's chives, like I said, herbs and medicinal. And then around the property, I know we've got the willow, we've got yarrow, we've got a bunch of different stuff, and started doing some tinctures last year. So I really want to get more into that as well and grow more of those herbs and weeds around the property as well, so we can kind of access that stuff ourselves. Trying to catch up on some coffee comments here. Yeah, we'd love to hook up some solar power, wind power as well. And we also want to get a fuel cell, fuel drum, fuel canister, one that's a good size for our diesel tractor. That way we can have the guy come in, fill it up, and we're good for, a couple months, rather than what we do now is we go to the gas station and fill up a couple of the jerry cans, which again is like the chicken feed. Sometimes we're getting low and we've got to make a trip. I'd rather have that stocked up ahead of time to be able to get through that. The worst would be running out of diesel for the tractor and, then having to harvest a cow, or taking the hay from the big square bales that we get and taking it flake by flake every day out to the cows. That would really be bad. It's possible to do. And I mean, in those situations, you're probably not working your full-time job. You're probably just trying to survive. So we'd have more time to be able to do that stuff. But again, it would be a lot easier having stuff still working. Yes, I was saying it before in Tracy's live, is we looked at investing in one of the 10 kilowatt windmills, wind generators. So it would power basically everything we have here without a problem. The cost, if I remember correctly, was about $80,000 to buy and install it. But then, I think the payoff was 30 to 40 years for us. So it would not be that effective for us to, like, it wouldn't be a 15-year payoff where then we start making money or start really saving money. It'd be 30, 40 years. So it wouldn't be that effective for us. Oh, good point. That's always handy to have. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of fuel, like you said before. Northern Girls Hobby said before, fuel, whether it be diesel, gas, propane, oil, wood, whatever you use, is have enough of it on hand to be able to make it through for long periods. That'd be nice. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that would be nice if spent a weekend and we go through some solar stuff and try and hook up some solar stuff here on the farm. Life in the Valley, good to see you. Glad you could come in and join us. So just going to jump back into some more of my thoughts here for the water. So water, a well is ideal to have, but if you have a river or stream, because not only do you need water for yourself, you'll need water for your animals. If you have a well, obviously you're going to need power to power that well. So either wind, solar, or some other method of being able to pump that water out of the well. If it's an electric well with the electric pump in the well, you're going to need something to be able to get that water out of the well. One of the things we've been looking at too is one of the big deep well hand pumps. We have 2 wells here on the property. One is an older one. We can still use it. We can still hook it up to electricity, but we want to pull that electric pump out of there and put in one of the deep hand pumps. That would be ideal for us going forward in emergency situations. Even better than that would be put a windmill there so we could allow the wind to pump that water up to a cistern for us. That would be ideal. But again, there's other projects we want to get completed first before we do that. So being able to have a well, have river, stream, even have water stored as well. A lot of us do canning, and you've probably seen that saying about never put a can empty back on the shelf. You can fill it up with clean water and put it on the shelf. You can boil that later, throw some aqua tabs in it, something like that to make sure it's still good to go. But you'll also need water to, say you're on septic like us. You can still use your toilet. You'll just need a good amount of stored water to be able to flush it without, the power in the well and the pipes running. So I'll jump into some comments here. Squash that like button. Thank you, Patrick. With wind, I think half the wattage when working. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yes. Yeah, I'm always trying to stock up on coffee, peanut butter. That's one of the things. Coffee, peanut butter, flour is one of the big ones. So it's any of that stuff that you might not be able to get from a store is always nice to have, or ones that you can't grow or make or raise or harvest. So let's see. Yeah, I saw the pictures of you guys out ice fishing, and it looks like you had a good setup in there to run things in it. But yeah, we'd like to do some sort of solar setup or wind for the chicken coop, the greenhouse, that sort of stuff. I know Dave has a nice setup for running water in his greenhouse with solar. So I'd like to copy something like that to be able to have that in operation here. Yeah, I think that's one of the ones we looked at. Our big concern is I have to measure the depth of the well. I'm pretty sure it's like 160 180 feet down, it's a deep well. So we got to make sure that we get enough pipe and that to be able to go down and actually reach the water. Nice. That those are so handy. And again, they're frost free. So the nice thing with that is after you use them, they drain the water out so they don't freeze and then burst. Hey, our life off grid. Good to see you. Foxed Outdoors. Good to see you. Glad you guys can join us. Oh, that's a great idea too, is use actual dirty water, the gray water, for flushing toilets. That's awesome. I love that idea. That's great. I'll have to actually write that down and remember that, because chances are I won't. And I really like that. That's nice. So yeah, the second one after water would be heat, fuel, fire. We kind of touched on that, but a fireplace in your house, a wood stove in your house, that's something to keep the house warm. I know a lot of people who can heat with oil or propane. I know friends of ours back in Ontario have a massive propane tank that they can run their barbecue, their stove, their fireplace off of, that sort of thing. So making sure those are always topped up, ready to go for any event like that. Making sure you have firewood on hand. And sometimes as well, I think a lot of us worry about firewood for the winter, whereas, we could also think about having it stored there usually all times, because if power does run out, say you have one of those cool summer nights, or even the fall, the spring, if you have a cook stove or any wood stove really with a flat top, then you can fire up the wood stove and do some cooking on the wood stove itself. I've done that many times where I've heated up stuff or I've cooked in the Dutch oven just on top of a regular wood stove. You don't need the cook stove to do anything, just something that allows transmission of the heat up to the Dutch oven or your pots and pans. So making sure you're able to heat your house is a big one. Yeah, that's it's definitely an ideal situation. I'd even go as far as to now think about some of our rain barrels, some of our blue barrels, that sort of thing, being able to collect that dirty water and use it for the flushing the toilets. Yeah, we have the hot tub and we have the pool as well, which again, I don't want to drink either of those. I probably would if it came down to it. However, our pool's the salt water, which still has chlorine, but I don't know. I have to see how that filters. I would not be afraid of filtering my hot tub water because we don't put anything in it. So I know I'd have no problem using my water filter for that. It would filter out no problem whatsoever. The pool would be a bit different story, but at least with the pool, I know I could flush the toilets with that. Nice. That's a great idea. I love that. Yeah, the propane oil would, it's all, goes along kind of those thoughts. It was funny. I was no, I shouldn't rant. No, I won't do it. I just, keep it good, keep it on topic here and stuff. It's not a rant against you, Patrick, but someone else said something about people living off grid, and I kind of had a problem with their definition with it. Anyway, we'll talk about it offline. Oh no, that's not good. We've thought about getting one of the big ones and then fill it so that we can hook up barbecue up to it and then get rid of our electric stove and put in a propane stove. But we also want to put in one of the wood cook stove fireplaces as well. So it's priorities and what would be more effective, what would we use more, what would cost less. It's a big thing that way. Oh, and that's a wooditice. I'm not sure what you mean there, Buttercup and Fern. Is where we were. One is a spot we were weak. Cook, dehydrate on over the wood stove. Yeah, I've done that many times in the past, and I love it. It's so nice. It's to me, it's relaxing. It's soothing. Even though you're cooking and doing some work, it I don't know. Maybe it reminds me of camping or something like that, where I enjoyed that. Why? Then I was in the military, and then I hated camping for a while, but then I enjoy it again. So yeah, and then so after the heat, fuel, fire, so we got water, heat, fuel, fire, comms. So again, jumping into that, have some radios. If you can get some good quality radios where you can talk to others out on your homestead, out on the farm, if someone's in the house and you're out in the back, comms is good, especially if you get injured or someone in the house has an emergency with something, then you're able to communicate, especially if cells are down, that's not working, then having a backup will work very well. For us too, because of where we are, there's a lot of times where I'll go into the backwoods, the cell doesn't work at all. So getting in touch with Bridget is hard because the cell phone isn't communicating, picking up a signal. So we've got some Motorola CBs, walkie-talkies that we use sometimes when we're going out back or snowmobiling or that sort of thing. And then again, not only on the homestead, but on the outside world. So being able to talk to others to get information and news of what's going on, if there's emergency help coming, say ice storm or something, if the roads are clear, if you can get to town, if you have limited gas, it's nice to know if the grocery store is open or the gas station is open and working and pumping and has fuel, that sort of thing. So you're not wasting trips, that sort of thing. So being able to find out that information is a huge asset. And then we spoke about shelter, obviously, shelter for yourselves, shelter for your animals. Make sure those are complete. Make sure those are done. Trying to finish any projects that might have a problem. Getting you through floods, getting you through rainstorms, getting you through ice storms, getting you through any situations where you're stuck. So you want to get those jobs done. If you don't have a shelter for your animals and you're thinking you need one, it'd be a good time to get it done as well. South Florida DCL, good to see you. Glad you could join us. We'll jump into some comments here for a sec. Cat Mac, Kate, Cat Mac, glad you could join us. Good to see you again. Miss your vlogs, miss her. Bridget, my wife, she's been crazy busy, so we're gonna try and get her back on some more videos as well. We're trying to stick to cow videos for the whole YouTube algorithm, but there's only so much cow stuff I can make and talk about and that sort of stuff. So I want to get back into the other stuff that I kind of went with the channel at the start of it, was kind of more back into that prepping, outdoor stuff and that sort of thing as well, where there's such a huge variety of interests and topics and that sort of stuff that I like, and I like doing because of my job. I like doing because of, my attitude and my outlook on life, that I want to just put a wide variety of stuff on the channel. So we'll get some of that weaving and stuff, and her making her art and stuff back in here as well. Two stoves. Nice. Yeah. We've got 3 wood stoves in the house here. We usually use the one just in the basement, and it kind of heats most of the house, but the other 2, we've got to carry wood through the house, so it's a bit of a pain, but we want to replace the one in the basement with the one from upstairs. It'll go downstairs, and then the upstairs one, we want to put in an actual cook stove. So comms are definitely important. Being able to talk to others, find out what's going on. Yeah, that's the same as us here. As long as we're in the house, we can use the Wi-Fi for the cells. But going out on the property, there's a lot of times where we don't get that cell service. So food, fire, shelter. Yeah. So going back to, we talked about shelter. So we got water, heat, fire, fuel for the house, shelter, comms, your shelter itself. Food is a big one. Again, you can't go that long without food, and neither can your animals. So if you have food that's stored, be it through canning, preserving, fermenting, freezing, if you have the power source to continue to keep those freezers running, dried, smoked, basically any kind of method to be able to preserve your food, freeze dried as well. If you have some that are vacuum sealed, everything from, again, fresh canned to store-bought emergency food, good for 5 to 10 years, 25 years, that sort of thing is always nice to have. We have a bit of both, because before I came here, I was in the mindset to get emergency food because I was in the subdivision. So we couldn't do as much canning as we wanted to. We didn't have cows walking around. We didn't have chickens and that sort of thing. So our emergency food supply came from actual emergency supply kind of outfits. So we still have some of that, but a lot of it now is the canned goods, the dried goods, the fermented goods, the preserved goods that we've done. Along with the food, seeds are good to have. If you have, say we're going into spring, and again, you're not able to get seeds because either stores are out of seeds, which we did see for a little while there, or, power's out, so you can't order seeds, or you can't go to your local store because they can't sell you any because they're closed. Going into the spring, for a little while, you want to get those seeds in the ground. So having some extra seeds stored away is always nice. Food that is living. So if you have chickens, turkeys, rabbits, pigs, cows, goats, stuff walking around on your homestead that you aren't storing down in your cold room or preserving, that is still walking around, is a huge asset. You still have to feed and water them, but you don't have to worry about preserving them yet, right? You still have your food that's stored away, and then you have your food that's walking around. And then food, obviously, for those animals. So like I said before, extra chicken feed for our chickens. We always try and order a huge amount of hay for our cows, so we always have that on hand. We like getting bags of corn and grain as treats for our cows. So if they get loose or anything happens, say some people break in or cut the fences to have fun or maliciously or something like that, then we can at least shake that bucket of grain and get the cows to come to us, which is nice. So jumping back into comments here. Love that you want to survive. Yeah. And I think it's one of those things that I think all of us kind of in that mindset where, we want to be prepared for situations. Some of us, myself being a little older, have lived through situations where, you realize it's not the zombies and that kind of thing that people are prepping for. It's actual situations like train derailment, power goes down, ice storms, tornadoes, floods, forest fires, volcanoes, stuff like that, where, Mother Nature can throw some stuff at you. And if you aren't prepared for a little while, then it's going to be a problem. You're going to run into issues. It's not a fun time to be able to. And then another flip side to that too is it's not always Mother Nature. Sometimes, if a family member loses a job or something like that, if you have extra food stored away, if you have extra firewood, extra fuel, all that kind of stuff stored away, then you can lean on that in those hard times and help cut your costs at that time, rather than, all of a sudden now you have to, you may have one income or no income, and now you still have to buy all that stuff to continue to see you through. So there's lots of applications for being prepared that is not the whole zombie, bad stuff. Gonna try and catch up on some comments here. We're truly off grid. It's not the easiest of life, but we don't mind. Others definitely couldn't live this life. No, I get that. It's hard. I know Patrick is off grid as well. And, there are sacrifices that have to be made doing that kind of thing. It's definitely one of those that I think some people could get used to, and some people could learn, but, going right into it would be hard, and continuing to live that lifestyle is definitely, it's awesome that you're able to do that and be able to sacrifice some of the stuff you do and face some of the hardships that you do and that sort of thing. Alpine preparedness. Good to see you. Glad you could join us. Hope you're doing well. Few of the other comments. Shelter, water, food, fire food, medical, comms, vices. Yep. The other one is, so after food would be, the one I added would be power. So if you have some way to power your house, be it through small hydroelectric project that you could do on your property, it goes back to having a river, a stream running through your property where you're able to harness some of that power and change it into the hydroelectric. Figuring out some way to provide electricity to your house would be awesome. If you have backup gas, propane, oil, anything to be able to continue to operate your house as normal, or operate your vehicles, your tractor, that kind of stuff, where, it's not always a luxury, but again, it just makes life a bit easier as well. So having power to run and recharge stuff is a nice asset. And then the seventh thing I added was security. So protecting everything. This would fall more into that SHTF situation where you could possibly see issues happening. I think if we look back in history, that won't happen as much as it happens in the movies. There are cases, if you take a look back at, say, Bosnia, that sort of thing, where that situation actually happened, where you needed security to protect the community or yourself. We've seen in Mexico too, where there was the one story of like the avocado farmers who basically banded together, created their own community, and were able to protect themselves against the cartel. So I don't know how well that's gone or anything like that. I just know they were doing that, because there will be those out there. And I think with that situation too is there's a lot of people that poo-poo the idea of inviting people onto their homestead or having outsiders come and all that. They want to be just individual in that. The problem with being just you or just a couple people on a homestead or a farm is being able to protect that farm in those real bad situations. You have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to bathe, you have to, if it goes on for a long period of time, you have to do some work around the place. So you can't always be watchful of the entire property. You can't keep an eye on everything when that stuff's happening. So having more people there on the homestead that have skills that you can trust, that are family, friends, people you know for a while, it makes a huge difference in being able to not only provide that security for yourself, but provide some of that work and labor as well. Say fetching water if you need to fetch water, feeding, tending the animals, harvesting the animals, sowing the seeds, collecting stuff. Maybe you need to collect firewood at that point. There's so many things that having more people on a homestead or farm is better in the long run. The big thing would be food right up front. If it goes down, then, whoa, we don't have enough food to feed everyone. But in the long run, I think you'd be better off. Yep. Clothing's a big one too. You'd have to, I think a lot of people would make do with what they have. There's a lot of people, you'd start to learn how to sew, that sort of stuff in an extreme long-term situation. Yes, hopefully it'll get more valuable. We don't mind that happening at all. Yes, having tons of seeds is always a great option. Again, if we face stuff we've faced in the past where it's hard to get that stuff, it makes a huge difference being able to collect and save it yourself. And then that way too, it's good for your area. It's going to grow. It's going to do well. That's awesome. That's so cool that being able to store that, save it, and keep it. Yeah, that's another one is, if you're buying tons of stuff now, then you're kind of saving an increased cost in the future as well. I'd hesitate to say don't put it on like credit cards and that kind of stuff where you're spending way too much of your budget trying to do that, where if you are doing that, then you're probably not really saving the money that you need to save. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Chris and Steph are doing another seed swap this year. They'll probably put it out soon. All good, Alpine. All good. Yes, we do have an Instagram as well. Please check it out. Thank you so much for promoting that. And Alpine Preparedness, I don't know if you saw the one medic video. I mentioned it in Instagram, but if you guys haven't watched the medic video that I just did about IFAKs and stuff, please go watch that. Medical gear in training is something that I kind of like to push, and I'm all for people in subdivisions, cities, homesteads, farms. If you're driving, it's huge. I've seen so many farm accidents. My uncle's dad had his hand taken off from a grain auger. And I know other people on farms who have been injured by stuff. Bridget's son just the other day got sliced open playing hockey. And having proper medical training makes a huge difference. So if you go watch that video that I did on the IFAK, there are 2 discount codes in there. You can get it from ctoms.ca. Good friends of mine. They're out in Alberta. The guy who started that, Chris Kopp, is ex-PPCLI. He's an ex-SARTEC. He basically wrote the TCCC book for the Canadian military, which is the medical care bit kind of thing for Canadian forces. They've done so much research. They've worked with doctors. They've worked with physician's assistants. They are the go-to for that kind of stuff. And so there's 2 discount codes, 5% if you get one of the IFAK builders, which I highly recommend keeping one in a truck, one in your barn, something like that. If you come up on an accident and you're the first responder there, if you are out cutting wood and you cut yourself with a chainsaw, if you did what I did and stab yourself in the shin when you're dressing or skinning an animal. So there's a 5% discount on that IFAK builder. So you can customize the IFAK for yourself, what you need in it, and you get a 5% discount. And the other is a 30% discount on their e-learning platform. So if you are taking one of their e-courses online, there's a 30% discount code in that video. And their online training is unreal. So you can get courses on hypothermia. You can get courses on bleeding. The one that's free once you sign up for a course is myths about first aid stuff. And one of the biggest myths out there is using sanitary products for stopping bleeds. And that kind of puts it out in basic terms is why you do not want to use tampons, diapers, sanitary napkins, anything like that. You do not want to use that for medical application because they are built differently than medical gauze and other stuff. So having the gear is one thing. Having the training is totally eye-opening and just awesome. And me, I love gear. As you can tell, there's lots of gear around. But for having medical training, that is a huge asset. Sorry, went on kind of a rant there. Alpine, fully off grid, but we can attach to grid. So either way, that is awesome. It gives you multiple options. So Bob, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I should have said hi, but I was going on a rant there. Hope you're doing awesome. Tracy, hopefully you're still here. Have a good night. But if not, I know I'll be talking to you soon. Yeah, Bosnia, it was one of those situations. I was never there. I've got buddies who were, and I was talking to them the other day about it. And it's again one of those situations where we actually started to see those roving bands of, lawlessness and that sort of stuff, where people had to protect themselves, form communities. And the problem is like, even trying to bug out, there were people that would take you out, snipers, that sort of thing, where, it didn't matter. So it was one of those weird situations that you can learn from going forward into actual SHTF situation versus other situations. Take, for example, Venezuela or something like that, where, there wasn't, not that we haven't seen that, but we don't see it as much, more as, people are working from home. So, the guy that might have been the doctor is now cutting hair in the street or something to get by. So it's not sort of the same situation. Let's see what is happening here in the comments. Survival Savvy, good to see you. I don't know if you've been in one of the lives before, but welcome. Hope all is going well. So what were we? Yeah, we were on security. So having good security on your homestead in that long-term SHTF situation is good. So again, I'm kind of in that camp where more people on your homestead is a good thing, as long as you trust them. There's kind of that view that some people might be lazy or not have the skills or that sort of stuff. If you have people there, family or friends, to me, it's like, if you have family there and someone's lazy in the family or doesn't have the skills and they're still family and they're there on your homestead, you're going to find a job for them. They can go fetch water. They can go take grain out to the chickens or something like that. There's, just because someone doesn't have skills in those situations, they're probably still going to come in handy for just everyday labor, that kind of stuff. So, and then there's some whatchamacallit, things you can do again to provide security for your farm or your homestead. I did a video back, I don't know, I think it was last year or something, going through some of the stuff that works really well. Driveway alarms, motion sensors, motion sensing lights, fencing. Fencing's nice but expensive, but at least it helps kind of deter. It doesn't stop, but it helps deter a bit. People, motion sensors on your driveway. There's lots you can get that operate within, I think it's a 2-kilometer range. So there's some you can move them. You can put them on your driveway. You can put them on ATV trails, walking trails. You can put them by the gate for the cows if you want. You can put them on the door to your chicken coop. So if someone cuts that beam, then the alarm goes off. And there's lots that, we have one that kind of getting into things here, but we can add 12 different sensors to it, and each one has a different chime. So depending on which sensor goes off, a different chime plays, and we know exactly where the motion took place. There's times where it's deer or raccoons or fox, but again, what's happening in different areas of your homestead. The cows might have got out. It's going to trigger that sensor and set it off if they're going down a trail. Amazon shows up in your driveway. You've got someone in your driveway coming in. So cameras, it's another good one to have. I highly recommend a Canadian company, Lorex. They do some awesome systems for homesteads, houses, that sort of thing. You can do multiple different camera styles, wired, Wi-Fi, remote. They provide a wide array of options. that you can monitor as well on your phone. So if you do have the power, it's nice to have that option as well. No, we are on well. So our problem with the well that we still need to solve is getting that water in emergency power down situation. So we've been looking at just the hand pumps. So we have two wells, one that we use, one that we don't. So we want to put the hand pump on the other well that's not in use, or at some point we want to put one of those old school windmills and be able to pump that water into a cistern to be able to store that, so we have water ready to go at all times. So those are the two thoughts we're thinking with our well. If we could have the windmill, would be nice, pull it off, turn it on, and then be able to fill up that. Nope, we don't. That's the problem, is we need to get one of those too. So we're looking at something where we'd be able to dig up the front and install it, and then be able to pump water into that, be able to store it. Yeah, exactly. If the pump goes because we're on electric, that's the huge concern for us. So having a windmill would be ideal. A hand pump might get us by. So we're trying to come up with different situations that's going to work best, because we have a deep well as well. It's like 180 feet, I think. So the hand pump will work. We know we just got to get the right amount of pipe. The windmills we've seen for that type of well don't exist, but I know, well, not saying they don't exist, but I haven't found one yet. So we got to try and find something that would work for that. Yeah, that's the thing, is we'd like to set up a solar as well. We want to do that for the greenhouse, the chicken coop. So if we could run something solar for the well pump, that would be nice. I know I missed one of the. Nope, that wasn't it. Any good books we should all have? There's a couple I really like. This one, Backyard Medicine. It's a nice one. Goes through a lot of the stuff that most people consider weeds. Is very useful in different situations. If grid really goes down, then alcohol's always good to trade, or just make it for yourself. This one here, Gates and Fences and How to Build Them. This one we've actually referenced multiple times and built some of the gates from here. We built some of the styes. We've used this book a few times to build stuff, and it's made a huge difference. Knots. I can't tie knots, so I tie lots. I have not studied this book enough and practiced enough, but knots are one of those things that is always handy in everyday life. Whether you have a load you're got on the truck or in the trailer, you're trying to tie a shelter or something for the chickens, you want to attach the cow or horse or something to a post to have them stay there. Knots. I need to, actually, I'm going to leave this out because I'm going to take it with me on the plane and read it. Soap making. Learning to make your own soap is a huge asset, especially if you have pigs or you have access to fat and lard. If you can make your own soap, it's very easy to do. You don't have to buy a lot of stuff, basically lye, or you can actually make it from wood ash. There's a, trying to think what else I've got here. Oh. Just in case, anyone that is just trying to get into starting to prepare for stuff, this is a good one. Goes through a lot of the basics that, you know, again, if you're just getting into prepping your homestead or something, it's a great one to have. And like power situation, you go at a power for a couple days or something happens like that. It goes through different stuff like kits you can have, kits you should make up, earthquakes, loss of power, floods, going through sanitation, different lighting forms, preparedness, all that kind of stuff, storing water. It's great to learn from. There was this one I've read a few times. I don't reference it much anymore, but it was a good one for everything from tracking to identifying tracks. I forget what else was in it. Maybe I need to go back and read that too. So it was a neat little book. There's two that I don't really reference. There's Urban Survival Guide. I think I got that as a gift. And then Zombie Survival Guide. It's a fun one to read for how to protect, complete protection from the living dead. So again, it's a fun one to read. How well do solar pumps work up north, like northern Canada? Yeah, that'd be hard. I think because our friends, you guys are pretty close, I think, but our Bridget's brother is up in Faro, up in Yukon, and in the winter you don't get much light, so running solar is hard up there. For us, it's not bad. We could probably get by with a solar pump or battery bank with solar, and charging up that battery bank to run the water pump. Me and you, Acres, good to see you. Glad you could join us. Hope you're doing well tonight. I think I've kind of gone through everything. I might redo that list. Again, it was kind of for anyone late coming to chat. It was kind of, I kind of took the 5 rules of survival and made it 7 and changed it a bit for homestead prepping. So just kind of refresh would be, water would be the big one. Heat, fuel, fire to make sure your shelter, your house, your barn stays warm, whatever you're staying in. Comms with each other, comms with the outside world. Shelter, get that shelter complete. Projects you haven't done. Maybe I'm pointing at you, me and you, Acres, where you might want to finish some projects before stuff goes really bad. Food is the big one, and then power and security. So yeah, that's I think I might add something like medical probably would be a good one. Having medical supplies, having if you can get extra pills and drugs and that kind of thing. I think it's hard in Canada because they kind of limit your prescriptions. So having something for 2-3 months, and I know some prescriptions expire as well. So I think it would be hard to stock up on some of the stuff. I know there's some companies out there who do provide a bunch of stuff. We've kind of looked into it as well. Jace. I don't know. Does anyone here have one of those? Is it Jace Medical? I'm pretty sure it's Jace. Does anyone have one of those kits? Has anyone here bought one of those kits that provide the antibiotics and other stuff like that to you? MB Heritage Farms, good to see you. Hope you're doing awesome tonight. Yes, make sure you guys check out that medic video. Having medic stuff on the homestead, on your farm, even if you're in a subdivision or an apartment and you drive a lot, having a good IFAC kit or something in your vehicle, I highly recommend. They are good kits. Jace, yes, no, I did not purchase. Okay, I don't know if anyone has. I know, I'm pretty sure they do. Whatchamacallit, affiliates. I don't know if anyone's an affiliate here. If they have a link, we can always just put a link up. But if anyone has an affiliate link, be sure to let me know and we can paste a link, and you can make your commission or whatever through that. So yeah. I had a situation, was it last year? And I had an ear infection and I couldn't even get a doctor appointment. And they were like, oh, you got to go through the online system. Well, I did that. And it was like, nope, we're not going to prescribe you antibiotics for that condition. So you have to go get an appointment and that. And by the time I actually was able to get an appointment, my ear infection was cleared up. So it's like, if I had the antibiotics already on hand, that would have been nice. Yeah. I sent one down. They're always upgrading it. Cool. Yeah, that's one I'd really like to check into, to be able to basically have that stuff put away. And, it's not even for emergencies nowadays. It's because we've had those situations. I've heard from people where they turning people away at the hospital. So we've gotten to a point where even getting basic medical attention is really hard. So it's crazy. Yeah. I don't know. Do you guys have any other suggestions for what kind of category you would prep for on a homestead? I know we've got a lot of people in here that are not only homesteaders, but a bunch off grid, a bunch doing their own thing out in the bush, that sort of thing. So I know the knowledge in here is awesome for this kind of topic. So it's one that I think in the past, it's always got that bad reputation where, as soon as you say prepping, people freak out. But again, it's one that, if you don't have some food set aside for, say, a power outage, or you don't have candles set aside for power outage, or backup generator to help with your freezers, some gasoline set aside for that generator. It's not, you can prepare for zombies, go for it. I like that because that will help you prepare for the normal situations that could occur before the zombies do. So Yeah. Yeah. Pneumonia, stuff like that. Again, my ear infection. So it's crazy. And then the one thing, it's going to sound crazy to some, others are like, yeah, of course. It's like I'm putting our honey in all my medical kits now. Just basic raw honey from our bumblebees, or not our bumblebees, our honeybees. Because when I cut myself or stabbed myself, actually, it's actually really healed up nicely. The when I was, if anyone hadn't heard the story, I was skinning our cow. I was pulling down the hoof and it was really tough. And I pulled too hard and my blade was dull. Should have sharpened it before I was. I was trying to finish the leg before I sharpened it. And I should have stopped, sharpened my blade. But I was pulling, went through the skin and straight into my leg. And I figure, judging by the cut size in my pant, it probably went about an inch deep. And that was just after being from the bottom section of the leg in the cow. So I'm pretty sure there was some dirt, pretty sure there was some hair, that sort of stuff on the knife. And I washed it out as best as I could and put some raw honey in it from our honeybees and then bandaged it up. And it's been fine. So I'm like, whoa, that's kind of crazy awesome that it healed up faster than a lot of my other cuts have. So I'm now a big believer in honey. So that's not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not, all that YouTube stuff and lawyer stuff, and, don't take my advice on it. I'm just telling you what I did, because for me in that situation it was later in the day. I still had to finish skinning the cow. I still had to break it down into 6 sections to get it down into cold room. So I knew, I think it was like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, something like that. Maybe 3 o'clock. I was like, if I go to the hospital now, I'm going to be there for 6 hours, 8 hours, maybe longer. And the cow is going to be hanging there. And I need to get that cow finished and I need to get it put away in the cold room. So I got to look after it myself. I can't go to the hospital. So, yes. Yeah, that's a big, big thing, especially in the case of something like forest fires, where you could have your place go up. I saw that back when I lived down in southern Ontario. There was a train derailment in Port Hope, and they basically evacuated 2 square kilometers. So emergency services, fire, ambulance, paramedic, like all first responders were going door to door, knocking on the door saying, hey, you got to go out right now, grab your stuff and leave, because you can't be in this 2-kilometer area. I think it was 2 kilometers, might have been 1, but they basically evacuated everybody and you had to grab your stuff and go. So having access to any documents you might need, visas, extra money, anything like that, to be able to, if you don't have friends you can stay with or family you can stay with, there's a good chance you're going to have to stay in a hotel. And if you can't afford a hotel, then you're going to have to find somewhere to stay. So if you live by a train, live by railroad tracks, then one of the things I would highly prepare for is actually bugging out, in the sense that be prepared to go to friends, prepared to go to family, be prepared to go stay at a hotel for an extended period of time. Because if that happens, and if it happens bad, you got to get out fast, and you don't know how long you're going to stay there. Yeah. Stitching is a good one to know. I need to get my buddy to teach me how to stitch. He's a physician assistant, and he also works with CTOMs. And they actually do a lot of their stuff on live pigs. So they will actually practice stopping bleeds and that sort of stuff on pigs. And when they do that, guys, it's all under veterinarian supervision. So the vet's always there making sure that pigs in, good health and that sort of stuff, not suffering unduly. And that kind of stuff has saved, I don't know, countless lives, that they're able to practice that kind of stuff on pigs. So it's pretty wild to be able to, he's told me about doing those courses, and it's pretty interesting. So they're few and far between. So it's not like us being civvies can get on that kind of course. But it's kind of cool. Yes, we do hang our cow for 2 weeks. We have a cold room built in the basement. It's about 6 feet by 6 feet. Big insulation through it. We did pink insulation in the wall, and then added, I think it was 2.5, 3 inch hard foam with the reflective lining on it, and then taped it all up. Air conditioner in there with CoolBot system. So we can keep that down at about 1-2 degrees. So we hang the pigs, the deer, the cows in there. The pigs we don't age. Basically, we just want them to get cold so it's easier to work with. But the cow we do hang for about 2 weeks. And then the nice thing with that is we can pull up a front section, pull up a hind section or the rib section, and butcher it as we have time. So we can do like one front section one night, the next front section the next night. So it really makes it nice to be able to do that. And if anyone is looking at harvesting and butchering their own animals, having a cold room like that built is a massive asset. I highly recommend it. Yeah, I'd be interested in doing that. I've cut myself enough times that stitching up might be an option. I just want to make sure, I'll have to ask too, but I want to make sure that it's cleaned out perfectly. Now when I'm going to put honey in it, like I said, because I don't want to stitch it up and then have an infection start. So cut myself during chicken harvest. Alex thumb was smashed this year too. All the medical stuff came in super handy. Yeah. Broke my arm on the cannon. No scars. Scabbing myself. Man, nice. Yeah, I've cut myself multiple times just in the kitchen, butchering. We got the gloves now, so that helps. Cut-proof gloves. They're big asset to have. I've done it with just being out in the bush as well, whittling sticks and doing stupid stuff. And, again, having a sharp knife will help prevent a lot of that stuff, which I got continually remind myself to keep my knife sharp. So, yeah, so that was kind of the conversation for tonight. I hope you guys like this. I think I might call it a night. I've got to get ready. I got to go do a bunch of work. So I got to get ready for that. And, but yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out. It was awesome to see you guys. Some of you haven't been here for a while, some who I haven't talked to and chatted with for a while. It's so awesome to see you. Some of the new faces as well. Thank you so much. Guys, I really appreciate you guys coming in and chatting with me on this tonight. If you have any other comments, leave them down below or send me a message. something I might have missed or hadn't thought about, or a different perspective that you're thinking, I'd love to hear about it. The more I hear too, the more it opens up my brain and makes me think about different aspects and different perspectives and situations and stuff. So again, thanks for your continued support. Alpine Preparedness, thank you so much for helping mod tonight and dropping the links and stuff. I really appreciate that. Thank you for coming out tonight. So guys, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.